Who is your greatest enemy? Think carefully before you answer. Is it the person who wronged you, the circumstances that hold you back, the world that seems to work against you? No, your greatest enemy sleeps in your own bed, wakes up when you wake up, follows you to work, sits beside you at dinner, lies down when you lie down. Your greatest enemy is you. But here lies the paradox that will change everything. This same enemy is also your greatest ally. The very force that destroys you is the same force that can transform you. The mind that creates your prison is the same mind that holds the key to your freedom. Right now, as you hear these words, take one breath. Feel the air entering your nostrils. Feel your chest rising. Feel the air leaving. In that single breath you have experienced something most people miss their entire lives. You have experienced the difference between living unconsciously and living with awareness. You have touched the space where transformation lives. Most people breathe 20,000 times a day and never truly feel a single breath. They think 20,000 thoughts and never truly observe a single thought. They make 1,000 choices and never realize they are choosing. They are asleep while awake, moving while motionless, living while dying, but not you. Not anymore. The warrior who seeks to conquer the world will face many enemies. The warrior who seeks to conquer himself will face only one. But that one enemy is more cunning than any general, more persistent than any army, more deceptive than any spy. This enemy knows your weaknesses because it created them. It knows your fears because it feeds them. It knows your patterns because it programmed them. This enemy is your unconscious mind. Right now, millions of people are living as prisoners in a jail they cannot see. The bars are made of habit. The walls are built from automatic reactions. The guards are their own thoughts patrolling endlessly, keeping them locked in patterns they never chose. They wake up and immediately reach for distraction. Their mind starts racing before their feet touch the floor. They react to the first sound, the first sight, the first thought that enters their consciousness. They have become slaves to whatever grabs their attention. Watch a person in traffic. See how their face changes when someone cuts them off. Watch their shoulders tense. Watch their jaw clench. Watch them become the emotion instead of feeling the emotion. In that moment they are not driving the car. The emotion is driving them. This is the first chain that binds you, the chain of reaction. You feel, therefore you become. You think, therefore you are that thought. You experience an emotion, therefore you are that emotion. Someone else's action determines your inner state. A circumstance beyond your control controls everything within you. The weather determines your mood. Traffic determines your peace. Other people's opinions determine your worth. External events determine your internal experience. You have handed over the remote control of your life to everything and everyone except yourself. But there is a second chain, more subtle, more dangerous, the chain of distraction. Your mind has become like a monkey jumping from branch to branch, never resting, never still. One thought leads to another, which leads to another, which leads to another. You start thinking about your morning coffee and end up worrying about your retirement. You begin planning your day and find yourself replaying yesterday's arguments. Your attention has become scattered like leaves in the wind. You are everywhere except where you are. You are everywhere except right now. You eat without tasting. You walk without feeling your feet. You breathe without awareness. You live without presence. The third chain is the most invisible and therefore the most powerful, the chain of identification. You believe you are your thoughts. You believe you are your emotions. You believe you are your memories, your roles, your story about yourself. You say, I am angry, instead of I feel anger. You say, I am sad, instead of I experience sadness. You say I am my job, my relationship, my past, my future. But you are none of these things. You are the awareness that observes the anger. You are the consciousness that witnesses the sadness. You are the space in which all thoughts and emotions arise and fade away. Yet you have forgotten this truth. You have become identified with the contents of consciousness instead of consciousness itself. Think of a movie theater. You can become so absorbed in the movie that you forget you are sitting in a chair, watching images on a screen. You laugh, you cry, you feel fear, you feel joy. All because of shadows dancing on a wall. Your mind is the movie, your true self is the one watching. But you have become so absorbed in the movie of your thoughts and emotions that you have forgotten you are not the movie, you are the watcher. This is the great forgetting that creates all suffering. This is the sleep that needs awakening. This is the battle that must be fought. But how do you fight an enemy that lives inside your own head? How do you overcome the very mind you must use to overcome it? How do you watch the watcher? The answer lies in a practice so simple that most people dismiss it, so powerful that it can transform your entire existence. The practice of pure observation. Right now, notice your thoughts. Do not judge them. Do not try to change them. Do not analyze them. Simply notice them, like clouds passing through an empty sky. See how they come and go without your permission. See how they arise from nowhere and disappear into nothing. See how you are not creating them, yet you are aware of them. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that perceives thoughts. Now notice your breathing. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils and the warm air leaving. Notice how your body breathes itself without your conscious control. You are not your breath. You are the awareness that perceives breathing. Now notice the sounds around you, the hum of electricity, the distant traffic, the settling of the building. Notice how these sounds arise in your awareness and fade away. You are not the sounds. You are the awareness in which sounds appear. This awareness, this pure absorbing consciousness, this is who you truly are. This is the self that cannot be disturbed by thoughts, cannot be shaken by emotions, cannot be threatened by circumstances. This is the mountain that watches the weather change but remains unmoved. This is the deep ocean that feels the waves on its surface but stays calm in its depths. This is the sky that holds all clouds but is touched by none. When you identify with this awareness instead of with the contents of awareness, everything changes. The prisoner becomes the guard. The victim becomes the master. The slave becomes free. But this shift requires practice. It requires what the ancient warriors called discipline, not the harsh discipline of punishment, but the gentle discipline of returning again and again to awareness. Every time you catch yourself lost in thought, you win a battle. Every time you notice you are reacting and choose to respond instead, you claim territory in the war for your own mind. Every time you remember to breathe consciously, you strike a blow for your own freedom. The battlefield is your consciousness. The weapons are your attention and your breath. The victory is the realization that you are not what happens to you. You are how you relate to what happens to you. Most people fight their entire lives against external enemies, while the real enemy conquers them from within. They try to change their circumstances while remaining unchanged themselves. They seek to control everything except the one thing they actually can control, their own awareness. But you are different. You are beginning to understand that the kingdom worth conquering is not outside you but inside you. The revolution that matters is not in the world but in your consciousness. The freedom worth fighting for is not political or social but spiritual and mental. This is why the ancient masters spoke of the pathless path. There is nowhere to go because you are already here. There is nothing to achieve because you already are what you seek. There is no enemy to defeat because the enemy and the hero are the same person. The battle between you and you is not a war of destruction but a dance of integration. You are not trying to kill the ego but to understand it. You are not trying to eliminate thoughts but to observe them. You are not trying to become someone else but to remember who you have always been. In the deepest silence of your being, there is a that has been calling you home your entire life. It is the of your true self waiting patiently for you to stop running and turn around. It is the thing that whispers you are not your story, you are not your past, you are not your fears. You are the awareness that perceives all of these things. This knows no hurry, because it exists outside of time. It feels no fear, because it has never been born and can never die. It needs nothing because it is everything. It wants nothing because it lacks nothing. This is your original nature calling you back from the dream of separation, the illusion of being small, the fantasy that you are anything less than consciousness itself. But to hear this clearly, you must first quiet all the other self. You must step back from the noise of constant thinking. You must cease the endless commentary your mind provides about everything you experience. You must learn to be still, not the stillness of death but the stillness of the deepest life. Not the stillness of emptiness but the stillness of fullness. Not the stillness of absence but the stillness of presence. In this stillness you will discover something remarkable. You are not the thinker of your thoughts but the awareness in which thinking happens. You are not the feeler of your emotions but the space in which emotions arise. You are not the experiencer of your experiences, but the consciousness that makes all experience possible. This realization changes everything, because it changes nothing. You are still you. But now you know what you actually means. You still have thoughts, but now you know you are not your thoughts. You still feel emotions, but now you know you are not your emotions. You become like water, formless yet taking the shape of any container, soft yet carving through the hardest stone, yielding yet ultimately irresistible. The person who knows their true nature cannot be insulted because they know that insults are just sounds in the air. They cannot be threatened because they know that what they truly are cannot be harmed. They cannot be manipulated because they are no longer unconscious of their own reactions. They have become responsible, able to respond rather than react, able to choose rather than be chosen for, able to create rather than be created by their circumstances. But this transformation does not happen overnight. It happens breath by breath, moment by moment, choice by choice. Each time you remember to be aware, you water the seed of awakening. Each time you choose response over reaction, you strengthen the muscle of consciousness. Each time you return to the present moment, you come home to yourself. The path is walked by walking. The breath is breathed by breathing. The awareness is aware by being aware. There are no complex techniques to master, no secret knowledge to acquire, no special states to achieve. There is only this, the simple return to what you have always been, but have temporarily forgotten. You are the awareness that is aware of reading these words right now. You are the consciousness that is conscious of understanding these concepts. You are the presence that is present to this very moment. This is not a philosophical idea to contemplate, but a living reality to embody. This is not a distant goal to reach, but a current truth to recognize. This is not something you will become, but something you have always been. The greatest enemy you will ever face is the one who has convinced you that you are small, limited, separate, and powerless. The greatest victory you will ever achieve is realizing that this enemy was always just a case of mistaken identity. You thought you were the prisoner, but you are the guard. You thought you were the slave, but you are the master. You thought you were the problem, but you are the solution. The battle between you and you is ending not in defeat but in recognition, not in victory but in reunion, not in conquest but in coming home. And in this homecoming you will discover that there never was a real enemy at all. There was only consciousness dreaming it was something else, forgetting its own nature, playing hide and seek with itself. The game is ending. The dream is dissolving. The true self is awakening. And you, the real you, are beginning to remember who you have always been. Now that you know who you truly are, the question becomes, how do you live from this knowing? Recognition is the first step. Integration is the journey of a lifetime. You have seen through the illusion of being separate from your awareness. You have recognized that you are not the storm but the sky that holds the storm. But knowing this and living this are two different things. The mind that has ruled you for years will not surrender its throne without resistance. The patterns that have controlled you will not dissolve overnight. The habits that have shaped your reactions will continue to pull you back into unconsciousness. This is where the real work begins. This is where knowing becomes being. This is where understanding transforms into mastery. What is the strongest force in nature? Water, not because it is hard, but because it is soft. Not because it fights, but because it flows. Not because it forces, but because it finds the way. Water never hurries, yet it always reaches its destination. Water never forces, yet it carves through mountains. Water never fights the rock, yet the rock eventually gives way. This is the power you must cultivate, the power of stillness in motion, the strength of softness, the force of non-force. But how does water achieve this impossible strength? Through one simple principle: it always returns to its nature. When water is heated, it becomes steam, but it returns to water. When water is frozen, it becomes ice, but it returns to water. No matter what form it takes, no matter what pressure it faces, water always remembers what it is and returns to its essential nature. You must become like water. When anger heats you, return to your nature. When fear freezes you, return to your nature. When circumstances try to shape you into something you are not, return to your nature. Your nature is awareness. Your nature is presence. Your nature is the unshakable peace that exists beneath all mental weather. But returning to your nature requires practice. It requires the cultivation of what the ancient ones called the art of non-doing. This is not the non-doing of laziness or avoidance. This is the non-doing of perfect action, action that arises not from reaction but from response, not from compulsion but from choice, not from the ego but from your true self. Think of a master archer drawing his bow. His body is active, his mind is focused, but deep inside there is perfect stillness. He is completely engaged yet completely detached. He acts without acting. He does by not doing. This is the paradox of true power. The more still you become inside, the more effective you become outside. The more you let go of controlling, the more influence you have. The more you stop forcing outcomes, the more outcomes align with your highest good. Right now, as you sit or stand, feel your breath moving in and out of your body. Notice that you are not making it happen. Your body breathes itself. Your heart beats itself. Your blood flows itself. Life is living you. But somewhere along the way, you began to believe that you had to make everything happen. You began to force and push and struggle against the natural flow of existence. You began to swim upstream instead of flowing with the current. The transformation back to your natural state begins with one simple practice: conscious breathing. Your breath is the bridge between the conscious and unconscious, between the voluntary and involuntary. between the mind and the body. Your breath is always with you, always available, always ready to bring you back to the present moment. But most people breathe like they live unconsciously, hurriedly, shallowly. Watch how you breathe when you are stressed. Short, shallow, fast. Your breath becomes a reflection of your mental state. But here is what most people never realize. It works both ways. Change your breath and you change your state. Breathe like a master and you become a master. What does a master's breath look like? Slow, deep, rhythmic, complete, in through the nose, filling the belly first, then the chest. A natural out through the nose, releasing completely, allowing the body to empty itself naturally. Another natural. This is not just breathing. This is meditation in motion. This is presence in practice. This is mastery made simple. Try it now. Place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Breathe in slowly through your nose, feeling your belly rise first, then your chest. Hold gently for a count of 3. Breathe out slowly through your nose, feeling your chest fall first, then your belly. Hold empty for a count of 3. Feel what happens in your body. Feel what happens in your mind. Feel what happens in your entire being. This is the first key to transformation. Mastering your breath masters your state. Master your state, and you master your response to everything that happens to you. But there is a deeper layer to this practice. Your breath is not just air moving in and out of your lungs. Your breath is life force itself, the vital energy that animates your being. The ancient masters called this energy by many names: chi, prana, life force, vital essence. But whatever you call it, it is the power that beats your heart, grows your hair, heals your wounds, and dreams your dreams. When you breathe consciously, you are not just oxygenating your blood. You are consciously participating in the fundamental rhythm of existence. You are aligning yourself with the pulse of life itself. Every inhale is a burst. Every exhale is a death. Every breath is a complete cycle of existence, happening thousands of times each day, mostly without your awareness. But when you bring awareness to your breathing, something magical happens. You step out of linear time and into cyclical time. You step out of doing and into being. You step out of the mind and into the body, out of thinking and into feeling, out of problems and into presence. This is why conscious breathing is the foundation of all transformation. It is impossible to be anxious when you are breathing slowly and deeply. It is impossible to be angry when you are breathing with awareness. It is impossible to be lost in the past or future when you are breathing in the present moment. Your breath is your anchor to the now. Your breath is your pathway to peace. Your breath is your tool for transformation. But breathing consciously is just the beginning. The next level of mastery involves understanding the difference between reacting and responding. Most people think these words mean the same thing. They do not. Reaction is unconscious. Response is conscious. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. Reaction comes from the past. Response comes from the present. When you react, you are like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. Someone says something, and you automatically feel angry. Something happens, and you automatically feel afraid. You experience a trigger, and you automatically fall into an old pattern. You are not choosing your response. Your conditioning is choosing for you. But when you respond, you are like a master craftsman selecting the perfect tool for the job. You feel the same trigger, but instead of automatically falling into reaction, in that you remember who you are. In that you access your power to choose. The difference between reaction and response is the difference between slavery and freedom, between unconsciousness and consciousness, between being driven by your conditioning and being guided by your wisdom. But how do you create this? How do you find space between the trigger and your response? Through the practice of the sacred. When you feel trigger, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when you receive criticism, when things into not go according to your plans, instead of immediately reacting, take one conscious breath, just one. In that single breath, you step out of automatic mode and into conscious mode. In that single breath, you remember that you have a choice. In that single breath, you access the space where wisdom lives. This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending you do not feel what you feel. This is about feeling fully while responding wisely. This is about honoring your humanity while expressing your mastery. Feel the emotion completely. Let it move through your body like weather moving through the sky. But do not become the emotion. Do not let the emotion become you. You are the sky. The emotion is the weather. The sky is never damaged by the storm. The storm passes and the sky remains vast and clear and untroubled. This is what response looks like. Feeling everything, reacting to nothing, choosing everything. But this capacity to respond rather than react requires cultivation. It requires practice. It requires the development of what warriors call inner strength. Inner strength is not the ability to suppress your feelings. Inner strength is the ability to feel your feelings fully without being controlled by them. Inner strength is not the absence of fear but the presence of courage in the face of fear. Inner strength is cultivated through daily practice, through small moments of choosing consciousness over unconsciousness, response over reaction, presence over absence. Every time you take a conscious breath instead of holding your breath in stress, you build inner strength. Every time before reacting, you build inner strength. Every time you choose to respond from wisdom rather than react from conditioning, you build inner strength. This strength is not loud or aggressive. This strength is quiet like the strength of the mountain. This strength is gentle like the strength of water. This strength is patient like the strength of the oak tree. But this strength is unshakable. The person who has cultivated inner strength cannot be provoked into losing their center. They cannot be manipulated into abandoning their values. They cannot be frightened into betraying their truth. They remain like the mountain, present to all weather but moved by none. How do you cultivate this mountain-like stability in a world that seems designed to disturb your peace? Through the practice of conscious presence. Presence is not a technique you do. Presence is a way you are. Presence is the natural state of awareness when it is not caught up in thoughts about the past or fantasies about the future. Right now you are present. You cannot be anywhere else, but your attention might be somewhere else. Your attention might be lost in memories, caught up in worries scattered across 1,000 different concerns. Presence is the gathering of your attention into this moment, this breath, this experience, this awareness. When you are truly present, several things happen simultaneously. Time seems to slow down or stop altogether. Your senses become more vivid. Colors seem brighter, sounds seem clearer, sensations seem more immediate. Your mind becomes quiet, not empty but peaceful. You feel connected to everything around you yet perfectly centered within yourself. You feel simultaneously expanded and grounded, open and focused, relaxed and alert. This is your natural state when you are not caught up in the stories your mind tells about your experience. But presence is not something you achieve once and then possess forever. Presence is something you return to again and again, moment by moment, breath by breath. You will find your attention wandering. This is not failure. This is normal. The practice is not to never lose presence, but to notice when you have lost it and gently return. Think of training a puppy. When the puppy wanders away, you do not punish it. You simply call it back, gently and patiently. Your attention is like that puppy. It will wander. Your job is to lovingly call it home. Home is here. Home is now. Home is this moment exactly as it is. But returning to presence requires letting go of the addiction to mental activity that most people mistake for living. Most people think that if they are not thinking, planning, worrying, or analyzing, they are wasting time. They have become addicted to mental busyness, mistaking noise for productivity, confusion for complexity, agitation for aliveness. But the Master knows that the most powerful actions arise from the deepest stillness. The most creative insights emerge from the quietest mind. The most loving responses flow from the most peaceful heart. This is why cultivating stillness is not escapism but the ultimate pragmatism. This is not withdrawing from life but engaging with life more fully. This is not avoiding responsibility but accessing the source from which all wise action flows. In stillness you touch the source of all movement. In silence you hear the of wisdom. In emptiness you find the fullness of your true nature. But stillness does not mean sitting motionless for hours, though that can be part of the practice. Stillness means finding the unmoving center within all movement, the silent awareness within all activity, the peaceful presence within all experience. You can be still while walking, you can be silent while speaking, you can be empty while completely engaged. This is the art of living from your center, while fully participating in the dance of existence. Think of a spinning top. When it spins slowly, it wobbles and falls. But when it spins very fast, it becomes perfectly still, perfectly balanced, perfectly graceful. The faster it spins, the stiller it becomes. This is the paradox of mastery. The more active you become externally, the more still you can become internally. The more engaged you become with life, the more detached you can become from outcomes. The more you do, the more you can embody non-doing. But this integration of action and non-action, engagement and detachment, movement and stillness requires practice. Every morning before you begin your day, take 5 minutes to simply be, sit quietly, breathe consciously, and feel your own presence. Do not try to achieve anything or fix anything or understand anything. Simply be aware that you are aware. Throughout your day, return to your breath regularly, not as an escape from what you are doing, but as a way of doing it more consciously. Let your breath be the thread that connects all your activities, the awareness that flows through all your experiences. Every evening before you sleep, take 5 minutes to reflect on your day, not to judge or analyze, but to simply acknowledge, where did I react unconsciously? Where did I respond consciously? Where did I remember my true nature? Where did I forget? This is not about perfection. This is about direction. Not about never falling unconscious, but about returning to consciousness more quickly each time. Every time you remember, you strengthen the muscle of awareness. Every time you return to presence, you deepen the groove of consciousness. Every time you choose response over reaction, you write a new program in the software of your being. Slowly, gradually, naturally, you begin to live more and more from your center. You begin to respond more and more from wisdom rather than react from conditioning. You begin to move through the world like water, soft yet powerful, yielding yet persistent, gentle yet unstoppable. People begin to notice something different about you, though they might not be able to name what it is. There is a quality of presence about you, a sense of groundedness, a feeling of peace that seems unshakable. You have not become someone new. You have become who you always were beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the masks of personality, beneath the stories of limitation. You have returned to your original nature. You have come home to yourself. And from this homecoming, from this return to your essential being, a new way of living begins to emerge. A way of living that is both completely natural and completely revolutionary. A way of being that transforms not only your own experience, but ripples out to touch everyone and everything around you. This is the beginning of true mastery. Not mastery over others, but mastery of yourself. Not control of circumstances, but responsibility in all circumstances. Not the elimination of challenges, but the transformation of your relationship to whatever arises. You are becoming the master of your inner game, and mastering your inner game changes everything about your outer game. The transformation has begun. The real you is emerging. The master within is awakening. What does it feel like to live as a master of yourself? The master wakes up differently than most people. Before their feet touch the floor, before their mind begins its daily commentary, before the world demands their attention, they take their first conscious breath of the day. In that breath, they remember who they are beneath all the roles they will play. They remember their true nature beneath all the tasks they will complete. They remember their center beneath all the chaos they will navigate. The master does not wake up reacting to the day. The master wakes up creating the day. This is not about positive thinking or forcing yourself to feel good. This is about establishing your inner orientation before the world tries to orient you externally. Think of a lighthouse. The storms rage around it. The waves crash against it. The winds howl through the night. But the lighthouse remains anchored to its foundation, its light shining steadily, its purpose clear and unwavering. The lighthouse does not fight the storm. The lighthouse simply remains what it is and does what it does, regardless of conditions. You have become like this lighthouse, anchored in awareness, grounded in presence, radiating the light of consciousness, regardless of what storms might be raging around you. But this state of being is not maintained automatically. It is cultivated moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by breath. When the master encounters traffic, they do not become traffic. When the master faces criticism, they do not become the criticism. When the master experiences loss, they do not become the loss. They remain who they are, while fully feeling what they feel. They have learned the secret that escapes most people. You can be completely present to your experience without being defined by your experience. You can feel everything without becoming anything. You can engage fully while remaining free. Watch how the master handles conflict. Someone raises there, and the master becomes softer. Someone becomes agitated, and the master becomes stiller. Someone attacks, and the master responds with understanding. This is not weakness masquerading as strength. This is strength so complete, it has no need to prove itself. The master has discovered that the most powerful response to aggression is presence. The most effective response to chaos is calm. The most transformative response to hate is love. But this is not a strategy or technique. This is simply what naturally emerges when you are no longer defending a false self, when you are no longer protecting an ego that does not exist, when you are no longer reacting from wounds that have healed. The master moves through the world like water moves through a landscape. They find the natural path. They flow around obstacles rather than fighting them. They persist without forcing, influence without controlling, lead without dominating. People are drawn to the master, not because the master tries to attract them, but because the master has become attractive in the deepest sense. They are aligned with their truth, centered in their being, and radiating the peace that everyone secretly craves. The master's presence becomes a gift to everyone they encounter, not because they do anything special, but because they have become something special. They have become authentically themselves. But how do you live this mastery in practical terms? How do you maintain this center when life tests you in 1,000 different ways? Through 3 simple practices that require no special equipment, no perfect conditions, no extraordinary circumstances. 3 practices that can be done anywhere, anytime by anyone who chooses to remember their true nature. The first practice is the morning breath. Before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you engage with the world's demands, you give yourself 5 breaths of pure presence. Sit on the edge of your bed, feel your feet on the floor, take 5 slow conscious breaths. With each inhale, breathe in awareness. With each exhale, breathe out any tension, any worry, any residue from yesterday or anxiety about today. These 5 breaths establish your foundation for the day. They remind your body and mind what your natural state feels like. They set your internal compass to true north before the magnetic pull of external circumstances tries to throw you off course. The second practice is the conscious throughout your day. Whenever you feel triggered, whenever you notice yourself starting to react automatically, you take 1 conscious breath before responding. Just 1 breath. But in that breath you step out of unconsciousness and into consciousness. In that breath you remember that you have a choice. In that breath you access the wisdom that lives beneath your conditioning. This is not about suppressing your humanity or pretending you do not feel what you feel. This is about feeling fully while responding wisely. This is about honoring your emotions while expressing your mastery. The third practice is the evening reflection. Before you sleep, you spend 5 minutes in gratitude, not for things you have acquired or achievements you have accomplished, but for moments when you remembered your true nature, for times when you chose consciousness over unconsciousness, for instances when you responded from wisdom rather than reacted from conditioning. This reflection is not about judgment or analysis. This is about acknowledgement and appreciation. You are training your awareness to notice when you are awake, when you are present, when you are aligned with your truth. What you appreciate expands. What you acknowledge grows stronger. What you celebrate multiplies. These 3 practices, morning breath, conscious, evening reflection, create a container for conscious living. They establish rhythms that support your natural state rather than disturb it. But the true test of mastery is not in the quiet moments of practice. The true test is in the fire of daily life, in the crucible of relationship, in the pressure of challenging circumstances. How does the master handle disappointment? They feel it fully, allow it to move through them completely, but they do not make it mean anything about their worth, their future, or their possibilities. They do not become the disappointment. They experience disappointment. How does the master deal with success? They enjoy it fully, appreciate it completely, but they do not identify with it. They do not become the success. They experience success. How does the master face uncertainty? They embrace it as the natural state of existence, the creative potential from which all possibilities emerge. They do not resist uncertainty. They dance with it. The master has learned that trying to control life is like trying to control the weather. You can prepare for it, you can respond to it skillfully, but you cannot dictate what it will do. But you can always choose how you will be in relationship to whatever weather arrives. This is the ultimate freedom, not the freedom to control your circumstances, but the freedom to choose your response to any circumstance. Not the freedom from challenge, but the freedom to meet challenge with grace. And as you live from this freedom, something beautiful begins to happen. Your inner transformation starts to transform everything around you. Your family notices something different about you. You are more present when they speak to you. You listen more deeply. You react less and respond more. You bring calm instead of chaos, peace instead of anxiety, love instead of judgment. Your co-workers notice that you are no longer rattled by deadlines, frustrated by difficult people, or stressed by changing circumstances. You handle pressure with grace, approach problems with creativity, and treat everyone with respect. Your friends notice that being around you feels different. There is something peaceful about your presence, something grounding about your energy, something inspiring about your way of being. You have not become perfect. You still feel the full range of human emotions. You still face challenges and difficulties. You still make mistakes and learn from them. But you have become authentic. You have become aligned. You have become aware. And your awareness ripples out into the world like circles on a still pond. Every interaction you have is touched by your presence. Every person you meet is influenced by your peace. Every situation you enter is affected by your consciousness. You realize that changing yourself is the most powerful way to change the world. Not by forcing others to be different, but by being so authentically yourself that you give others permission to be authentically themselves. Your transformation becomes an invitation. Your mastery becomes a mirror. Your consciousness becomes a catalyst for consciousness in others. This is how the world changes, one person at a time, one breath at a time, one conscious choice at a time. But this ripple effect is not your motivation. This is simply what naturally happens when you stop living in reaction to life and start living in response to life. This is what occurs when you stop being driven by your conditioning and start being guided by your consciousness. You discover that the most radical act is simply being yourself. The most revolutionary thing you can do is live from your center. The most powerful force you can unleash is your own authentic presence. The master does not try to change others. The master simply lives their truth so completely that others are reminded of their own truth. The master does not preach awakening. The master embodies awakening. And in this embodiment, in this living example of what it means to be awake while alive, conscious while engaged, peaceful while powerful, you become a force for transformation in a world that desperately needs to remember what you have remembered. You become living proof that it is possible to live differently, that it is possible to be triggered without reacting, to feel deeply without drowning, to engage fully without losing yourself. You become evidence that the battle between you and you can end not in defeat but in integration, not in victory but in wholeness, not in conquest but in coming home. But remember, this mastery is not a destination you reach. This mastery is a direction you choose. Every day, every moment, every breath is an opportunity to return to your center, to choose consciousness, to embody your truth. Some days you will remember easily, some days you will forget and need to return. Some days you will feel like a master, some days you will feel like a beginner. All of this is perfect. All of this is part of the path. All of this is how consciousness expresses itself through human form. The master is not someone who never falls. The master is someone who gets up each time they fall. The master is not someone who never forgets. The master is someone who remembers each time they forget. You are this master, you have always been this master. You simply forgot for a while, lost in the dream of being separate from your own awareness, caught in the illusion of being anything other than consciousness itself. But the dream is ending. The illusion is dissolving, the master is awakening, and you, the real you, the true you, the you that has never been born and will never die, you are remembering who you have always been. The battle between you and you is over. There was never really a battle at all. There was only consciousness playing hide and seek with itself, forgetting and remembering, losing itself and finding itself again and again and again. The game is ending. The seeking is complete. The master has come home. You are the awareness that is aware of these words. You are the consciousness that is conscious of this understanding. You are the presence that is present to this very moment. You are not becoming a master. You are recognizing the master you have always been. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of your journey as someone who knows who they are. Now go, live from this knowing. Breathe from this truth. Move from this center. The world is waiting for the gift of your authentic presence. The world is waiting for the master you have become to fully emerge. You are ready. You have always been ready. The only question that remains is, will you choose to live as who you truly are? The choice is yours. The choice is now. The choice is always yours. Choose mastery. Choose consciousness. Choose yourself. You versus you. And you have won.